page 14 or 15, something like that, all the restaurants within a 4-block radius. So as you're looking for food, looking for lunch, maybe tomorrow or dinner tonight, all the restaurants are listed there with phone numbers in case you got a large group and you need to make a reservation. Actually also lists whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, so that you can, just got to keep talking, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're rolling, okay. And just a couple of quick announcements. I think the Root Wars game should be getting going in full force, so if you guys want to test out your hacking skills, you're certainly welcome to do so. You don't have to be chained to a table the entire weekend. You can play for as long as you want, jump in, jump out, and because it's wireless, you can actually hop on you can sit in here in this room, listen to the lecture, and hack away to your heart's content. In fact, a challenge might actually be to get on the AP without their knowledge, so maybe you get bonus points for that. And we do have some spots left on the Monday workshop, the wireless workshop. Bunny's workshop is entirely sold out and has been, but we're offering full-day workshops on Monday that they're hands-on, intensive classes where they're actually discussed in one of the last pages in your booklet, and I can actually give you the page number real quick. So there are just a few slots left on page 15 where they discuss the building/hacking open source embedded wireless mesh routers. So if you're interested in that, please see the front desk. And right now we've got Adam Young up, who's going to be talking about experiments from the cryptovirology labs. And let's give it for Adam.
Thank you very much. So today I'm going to be presenting some experiments that I conducted with Dr. Modi Young, who is a research scientist at Columbia. He's not a faculty member there, but he's had an office in the Department of Computer Science there for years, and he's a full-time employee of RSA Labs. Modi and I have had a very long, very fruitful relationship. He was my faculty advisor at Columbia, and we've been working on cryptovirology for over a decade now. So really what this talk is about is it's really making the transition from theory to experimental science. There are a lot of skeptics out there who really, if they don't see code, they don't believe it. They may think it's just a lot of theorems or hypotheses and maybe not a lot of weight behind it, but that was kind of the purpose of making this next step. And also, as any research scientist would tell you, very often you'll learn at least something non-trivial in the process of coding up something and experimenting. Sometimes it's a new idea, new theory, new algorithm, new protocol. Sometimes you realize, you screwed up something in your conference paper on it. So it's a very worthwhile endeavor to really just finally compile some of these things and have a look. So I'm going to back up a little bit and just kind of explain a little bit about cryptovirology itself. So what is cryptovirology? Over the years, you have seen a whole plethora of responses to this word. Most people, when they hear it, they think it's some sort of media buzzword, some sort of new craze to help sell security software, or some word that just sounded neat that doesn't really mean anything. And that's really not the case. It really is a growing area. Every year, more and more research scientists get involved in this. So from the FAQ, the cryptovirology FAQ on worldwideweb.cryptovirology.com, it's really defined as the study of the applications of cryptography to malicious software. So a lot of fields, may cross over. Some work in crypto crosses over into EE, some work in crypto crosses over into mathematics, etc. Cryptovirology really has its right foot in modern cryptology and its left foot in the theory of malware. So it's a definitely a crossover discipline. Attacks in cryptovirology are designed to give malware enhanced privacy, make malware more robust against reverse engineering, give attackers enhanced anonymity while communicating with their deployed malware, improve the ability to steal data via malware, improve the ability to carry out extortion via malware, improve the ability to carry out denial of service, to implement fault tolerance and distributed malware attacks, etc. So it really attempts to take a rigorous approach to designing malicious software. How old is it? Well, it's really kind of two answers to that. Under the heading cryptovirology, it's a little over a decade old. Modi and I published paper on cryptovirology in 1996, which I presented at the IEEE Symposium of Security and Privacy. So that was really kind of our first dive into this area. And what that paper was all about is cryptoviral extortion, using a virus to hybrid encrypt the files on a victim's machine and demand a ransom in return for files that they thought they had access to. And the non-trivial facet of that was the use of crypto. The malware before that had relied on symmetric crypto. Results on cryptovirology have been published in many of the world's leading computer science conferences, such as IEEE Security and Privacy, Crypto, Eurocrypt, AsiaCrypt, Financial Crypto, ACISP, ICICS, Worm, which is a pretty new conference now, the Information Hiding Workshop, and others. So really it's an academic discipline in that respect. And despite how new it is, really there have been enough results on this to write a book about it. And this book, I should say, reaches back into some of the ideas that date back to the 70s with Gus Simmons, who pioneered subliminal channels, which is an area that's kind of subsumed by cryptovirology. So this is a book I published with Modi about 2 years ago. And it not only summarizes our own work in this area, but we really did our best to include all the related work and even some work that's not, that may not appear to be related, but in fact is included in this. And this was published with Wiley. And so usually after I start talking about some of these attacks, which really do get quite involved, very often people start scratching their head and they're kind of like, how on earth can you justify, researching this kind of stuff? It's kind of subversive. And the answer that Modi and I have to that is quite simple. We like to draw an analogy to the field of cryptology. So it would be asinine to just assume that the crypto systems we have right now are secure and go about our merry way, right? We don't assume they're secure. We assume that there may be something wrong. And in fact, a cryptanalyst job is to try to break existing crypto systems. So we draw an analogy, a parallel between that and cryptovirology. Okay, we do not perceive our computers and our networks as being secure. We assume that there may be vulnerabilities both inside and outside. And cryptovirology is in some sense a proactive anticipation of what people will do when they get inside, not if, because some programmer is going to screw up and they're going to enable some sort of buffer or something. So our starting point is, okay, our starting point is not, okay, how do I break into person X's machine? Our starting point is, let's assume we're already in there. What is the nastiest, meanest, most covert cryptographic malware we can put in there that will stay there and survive for years and give us covert information subliminally over time, things like that. So our starting point is, hey, we're already on the inside, what can we do? And so this talk is really covers 4 experiments. We have a lot of other work, a lot of other algorithms and protocols we could have done, but this seemed to be an appropriate subject for Toorcon. These experiments are all part of our forthcoming book, which we've now called Advances in Cryptovirology, but chances are the publisher may insist on a different name. And so the layout of the book right now is it's kind of structured as, a chapter on theory, a chapter on the implementation of that as an experiment, chapter on some theory, chapter on the implementation of that. And the chapter on the theory is not to the level of a conference paper, but it will have plenty of citations to them, and it will cover a lot of the nuts and bolts of it. Okay, so moving forward, the first experiment is an implementation of the payload for cryptoviral extortion. Okay, this is an implementation of it. This is, again, the attack where the malware hybrid encrypts files of the victim and expects the victim to pay to get his information back. The second experiment is an implementation of what we call perfect questionable encryptions. So this is a relatively recent notion. We did manage to squeeze it into our book that we published in 2004, but we knew that we kind of had to clean it up and work out the bugs and issues. And to conferences, which we did later on. Perfect questionable encryption is a really neat kind of tool in cryptovirology. And really what it allows you to do is it allows malware to steal data from a host system such that even if an antiviral analyst monitors the life of that malware from beginning to end in a debugger, trapping every single instruction, they cannot prove that it steals data. The third experiment is the implementation of a crypto counter. It's a relatively simple idea. First published by Jonathan Katz et al., who I believe is still now a professor at the University of Maryland. And the notion of a crypto counter is to enable malware to store integer counters that are always encrypted, that can be incremented without first decrypting them, so that they can store counts of such things as how often a user logs in, how often someone goes to eBay, etc. And in fact, it is possible to update the counter without decrypting it, and this maintains privacy over time in an untrusted computing environment. And finally, the last experiment is an implementation of what we call tagged private information retrieval, which is based on published, well-known ideas on what's called private information retrieval, PIR. And this one is really, people don't even really believe this one is possible. In a nutshell, this is an attack where a crypto Trojan is designed to steal the password and login of a particular user known a priori, no one else's. On the surface, it may look like a traditional keyboard logger that's built into, say, the password program or something like that, but it's really completely different. What it does is it filters all the passwords and logins that come in. It only takes the one of interest. When it finds it, it essentially public key encrypts that key pair. I mean, that password pair. But again, it has this quite amazing property that even if you watch this Trojan, every instruction it executes from its entire life in store core dumps all along the way, you cannot learn what login it is after. You can't learn what user it's programmed to target. And by the way, the hidden password file that it stores the asymmetric ciphertext to doesn't grow with time. It doesn't just keep lobbing on new ciphertexts of login password pairs. It's size and it's pretty small. So, okay, so let's move forward. First, you have to look at the animated GIF. I purchased these. No copyright violation. So, I know they're kind of budget GIFs. So this is, what is cryptoviral extortion? Well, there's a new name now, a new fancy name, new buzzword, ransomware. You probably all heard this. Most people didn't realize quite how old this goes. It even goes way back to, the 80s. The AIDS information Trojan was somewhat similar in flavor, although that used symmetric cryptography. We define cryptoviral extortion as an attack that utilizes public key crypto in particular. And this is an active attack where the virus totes around within it the public key of the attacker as a constant. And it hybrid encrypts data files of the victim using the public key that the virus totes around with it. The attack only works if there are no backups of the data file. If there are backups, then they just zap the machine and reinstall from backups and they're fine. So that's an assumption. In this attack, the attacker demands some form of ransom in return for the randomly generated symmetric key that was used to carry out the attack. And this is a key that's generated at runtime when it